Hello, I'm Emily Dunlop, the head of Classics at Exeter School, and I'm here to speak to you about what we offer in the Classics department. So we offer two subjects at A-level, Latin and Classical Civilisation. And I'm going to speak to you now about Classical Civilisation. For those of you who'd like to study the classics but don't have the language, Classical Civilisation is a really good option. We cover a wide range of literature, history, culture and archaeology, so it's a great choice for the curious and for those with a range of interests. But this also means it's an excellent choice to support other subjects, such as English, theatre studies and history, as well as sparking the interest in new areas, such as sociology, anthropology or archaeology. The course has three key elements. We look at the great epic poems of the ancient world, the Odyssey and Virgil's Aeneid, which bring you into contact with not just the exciting tales of the Trojan War, but also gives you an insight into very different societies. We study Greek drama, both through archaeological evidence and a mix of tragic and comic plays. In the final part of the course, we consider the belief systems of the ancient world, and the ancient Greeks in particular, looking not only at their religion, but also the rise of philosophy, which is the cornerstone of Western thought and politics. As well as studying the subject in the classroom, we do try to go on as many trips as possible and are hoping to organise a trip to Greece in the coming year. So I have here three of my lower sixth Classical Civilisation students who've come through different routes to choose Classical Civilisation. So Tilly came with us right through from GCSE. Claudia has joined, she did GCSE Classic, but she's joined the sixth form this year. And Matt actually didn't do Classic GCSE at all, but chose it as his as a lower sixth, as an A-level option. And all of those are routes that we're very happy for people to take. So I think I've just asked them different questions to give you a sense of why people choose the subject and what they like about it. Tilly, why did you choose Classical Civilisation?
Well, I had a bit of a talk with Miss Shrub and I'd done GCSE Classic and I really enjoyed it. And I realised that quite a lot of the A-level, especially in the Roman side of it, was about politics in the Roman Empire. So that's like, at the moment we're studying Cicero's speech, which isn't going to be in it next year, but that's really interesting insight into politics. And also we're going to study Pompey and the Aeneid, which is just so interesting to know how sort of people acted and behaved and the sort of whole systems around society in those days. So yeah.
Claudia, what were your reasons for choosing it?
So I really enjoyed it at my old school, and so when I saw that they ran Classics for A-level, I really wanted to take it, as I find it really interesting comparing like our lives now and then, and what we have taken from the Romans.
Matt, why did you choose it?
I was looking for like a fourth subject to do, and I just thought I'd give Classic a try because I like history. And I've always been like interested in the mythology of everything, so I was like, yeah, sure, let's give it a go, and I'm really enjoying it now. So yeah. Yeah,
and you were thinking initially that you would be like the one you drop. It would be the one, but actually we're drawing you in.
We're
trying to convert.
It's honestly a front runner. I'm not going to drop it now.
Good. And so Matt, you've come in sort of through this rather unusual route of not having done it at GCSE. How have you found it sort of settling into the subject?
It really hasn't been that bad. It's quite similar to English and history, so like you have that sort of essays and reading, but I think the classes are really nice as well, especially because you have smaller classes. I think it's a lot easier. I just find it really easy to settle on.
Good. What aspects have you been enjoying most, Claudia, in the
So I've been really interested in the politics side of it. So we're learning about Cicero and him prosecuting people. And I find that really interesting because we take certain things from like skills that he's using, like the art of like rhetoric, which is like speaking well, and like seeing how like our like system now has evolved.
How about you, Tilly?
Yeah, sorry. I'm really loving the Odyssey.
Yeah.
It's just a massive story and it's so interesting, and it's such a good insight into the way that people used to live. It's just fascinating, and I love all of like the little bits about the gods. So it's so just cool to know and to have a bit of an insight into. I mean, people like generally believed in all of these gods, and it's so interesting to sort of know their beliefs and like how they're presented and stuff. It's really good.
And what aspects do you enjoy the most at the moment, Matt?
I'd say I enjoy the Odyssey as well. I find it really interesting, like to the sort of how they use such a similar like lifestyle to us, even though it was such a long time ago. And I really enjoy like how they have like these epic similes where it's just like, oh, Odysseus is like looking at this place that's near the Cyclops, and he's like, why don't they plant wineries on there? And why don't they just sail over there? And he's like thinking of a plan, like he could do stuff on that island. I think it's really interesting to like see how they thought.
To see, absolutely, the kind of ways that they would see the ancient world and think, the ways in the ancient world they'd see things and think, about, and perhaps in ways we might too. How could, and that then makes us see the links between us and them, as well as the differences, as well as what's going on. So how do they fit with your other subjects, I think? How does Classic fit in with your other your other choices? Claudia, do you want to kick us off on that one?
So I'm doing maths, economics and politics. It obviously fits very well with politics, learning about Cicero, and like learning about like their political system, and comparing it to ours now, because we're learning about the UK system and America. But it's also a nice break from maths and economics, because it's a different way of thinking. Instead of quite structured thinking, you get to like explore different views.
Tilly?
I'm doing chemistry, biology and geography. So with the chemistry and biology, that's quite intense, a lot of maths, and obviously it's very scientific. So it's really nice doing humanity. Well, and I do geography. And with geography, it's really nice because geography, especially human geography, is like the study of people in the world and the world around us. So it's so interesting to see our life now and then have Class Civ, which is like a comparison for how it used to be, especially in this country and obviously the Roman Empire. It's great.
Yeah, and you get all those ideas of the different aspects of the ancient world that then actually are quite similar in some ways to the modern world, but also quite different. So, how they ruled there. So in the Odyssey, a lot of stuff about how they lived or how they ruled or the conditions in which they were, deciding on, what they would do with their lives, how all of that's happening. And then, of course, geography is looking at the same sorts of things, but in a modern context. So, yeah. Matt, what about you?
I'm doing French, Spanish and history. I think it fits really well with history because in that we're sort of mainly learning about the 1800s onwards. We are doing some like a little bit below that, but it's mainly focused on modern history. And I think it's really interesting to sort of go back to like older things.
Yeah.
And French and Spanish don't really have that much like relevance on them, but they can be quite difficult. And I think Classic is quite like a chilled subject. Yeah.
Yeah, and lots of opportunity for sort of chat and discussion.
Yeah.
But also, I think most importantly, an opportunity to look at kind of human behaviours and humanity and emotions and feelings and things like that. So, how has it changed from GCSE, Tilly? How's it different, do you think?
Well, I mean, quite a big change for me was in GCSE we studied war and warfare, and that for me was not my favourite subject because we were studying the Iliad and it was quite a lot of just fighting scene after fighting scene after fighting scene. So I'm happy that's not in it, and we've got the whole story aspect still with the Odyssey, but a lot less fighting. So I really enjoy that. That's good.
Much more joyful. Right. So who do you think would be the kind of people who should be choosing Classic as their A-level option? What kind of person would you recommend? Matt, start off.
I think definitely someone who enjoys history because, like, especially if you enjoy like the older side, then I recommend it. or like, because I used to really like Percy Jackson and stuff like that. So if that's something that you've enjoyed, I definitely recommend it. There's not so much like monsters and stuff, but I think there is an element.
A few.
of that. Yeah,
Cyclops.
we have more monsters than the other subjects.
That's right. Yeah.
That's what we've got going for us. There is like, it's good if you want to learn more about that, especially if you read stuff like that when you were younger. Yeah, I recommend it definitely.
Sorry, what was the question?
The question was, who would you recommend it to?
Oh yeah, sorry, anyone who's creative or just, enjoys like diving into their imagination a bit, I think. I mean, I used to do art, so this is quite like a nice creative sort of outlet, even though it's not really, but I feel, if you've got that kind of mindset, you might enjoy it more.
It's open to discussion.
Lots of debates. Really good.
And lots of open questions as well. So again, that contrasts perhaps with some of the more sciencey subjects or maths, I suspect. There's not a lot of open debate about what the answer might be.
I'd probably say someone like who loves a good story, and like getting involved in the characters in the story. But also, like you said, someone who like likes a discussion and like learning like where their like world now came from.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.